Welcome to my channel, Learn English Every Day. Before we begin, I want you to pause for a moment and be completely honest with yourself. How many times have you tried to learn English only to stop because it felt too difficult, too fast, or too confusing? How many times have you opened a book, read a few lines, and then quietly given up because your mind told you, "This is not for me"? But what if I tell you something important? What if it was never your fault? The problem was never your intelligence, your memory, or your ability. The real issue was the method you were using to learn English. In this video, everything is going to feel different. You are going to experience English in the simplest, calmest, and most natural way possible. There is no pressure here, no complicated grammar rules, and no stress. Only real easy passages designed to gently train your brain to understand English step by step, without fear. As you listen and read, something powerful will begin to happen inside you. Your mind will start to relax. Your understanding will slowly improve, and your confidence will begin to grow naturally without forcing it. So do not rush, do not skip. Stay with me until the end, because this is not just practice. This is the moment where English finally starts to feel easy for you. Hash, hash, hash a busy life. In the city, Nadia is 29 years old and lives in a small apartment in Lahore. She works in a clothing store located in a busy shopping area, and her daily life is always full of movement and responsibility. Every morning she wakes up at 6:30, makes herself a cup of tea, and prepares a simple breakfast. Usually she eats bread and eggs while listening to the morning news on the radio. After finishing her breakfast, she gets ready and leaves home before 8 o'clock. The streets outside are already crowded with people, cars, and buses. Because of the heavy traffic, she must leave early to reach her workplace on time. At the store, her job is to help customers choose clothes such as dresses, shirts, and shoes. Some customers are kind and patient, while others change their choices again and again, which makes her job more challenging. She stands for many hours every day, and by evening, her feet feel very tired and painful. Still, she enjoys meeting different people and feels happy when she helps someone find exactly what they need. She finishes work at 6 o'clock, but on weekends she often stays longer because the store becomes much busier. When she returns home, she is usually exhausted, yet she still helps her mother prepare dinner. At night, she likes to sit quietly by the window with a cup of tea, thinking about her day. Her life is not easy, but she feels proud because she works hard and supports her family every day. Hash, hash, hash. A teacher in a small village. Mr. Kareem is a school teacher in a small village near the mountains. He has been teaching there for more than 15 years, and everyone in the village knows him well and respects him deeply. He teaches English and history and sometimes even mathematics when another teacher is absent. The school building is not very large and the classrooms are simple, but he loves his profession sincerely. Every morning, he walks to school carrying a bag full of books and papers. On his way, he often sees children running along the road and farmers working in the fields. When he enters the classroom, students stand up and greet him with smiling faces. He is strict when teaching, but also kind and patient. He believes children learn best when they are not afraid to ask questions. Sometimes the school faces difficulties. In winter, the classrooms become very cold, and in summer, There is often no electricity for fans. Even in these conditions, Mr. Kareem never misses a day unless he is seriously ill. After school, he often stays for another hour to help weak students with reading and writing. He believes teaching is not just a job, it is a way to build a better future. Although he does not earn much money, he feels rich when he sees his students grow into confident young people. Hash, hash, hash. Late for the train. Sana had a very difficult morning because everything went wrong from the moment she woke up. Her alarm clock did not ring, so she woke up much later than usual. When she opened her eyes and saw the time, she immediately felt anxious. She had an important meeting in another city, and missing the train would ruin her entire day. She quickly got dressed and did not even have time to fix her hair properly. In the kitchen, she poured tea into a cup, but it was too hot to drink. She left it on the table and rushed outside without finishing it. On her way to the station, the traffic was extremely heavy. Cars moved slowly, and the taxi driver looked frustrated. Sana kept checking her watch repeatedly. Her hands were cold, and she felt nervous and tense. When she finally reached the station, she quickly paid the driver and ran toward the platform with her bag. She could hear the train arriving, and for a moment, she thought she had missed it. But fortunately, passengers were still boarding. She stepped onto the train just before the doors closed. Sitting down, she took a deep breath and finally relaxed. Her morning had been stressful, but she had made it in time. Hash, hash, hash my grandmother's garden. My grandmother has a beautiful garden behind her house, and it is one of my favorite places in the world. Although the garden is not very large, it feels peaceful, alive, and full of warmth. There are red roses, yellow flowers, green vegetables, and a small lemon tree near the wall. Every morning, my grandmother goes outside with a small watering can and carefully takes care of each plant. She even speaks to them softly as if they were old friends. When I was younger, I did not understand why she loved the garden so much. To me, it was just soil, plants, and insects. But as I grew older, I began to see it differently. The garden changes with every season, and each change has its own beauty. In spring, everything looks fresh and colorful. In summer, the flowers bloom fully. Even in winter, when many plants rest quietly, the garden still feels alive in its own way. My grandmother always says that a garden teaches patience because nothing grows overnight. You must care for it, protect it, and wait. Sometimes I sit with her in the evening while she removes small weeds from the soil. We do not always talk, but the silence between us feels peaceful and comforting. That garden is not just a place filled with plants. It is filled with memories, love, and calmness. Hash, hash, hash. A nurse on the night shift, Farah works as a nurse in a large hospital, and her working hours are very different from most people. She usually works at night from 11:00 in the evening until 7:00 in the morning. While most people are sleeping, she is walking through hospital corridors, checking patients, giving medicine, and speaking with doctors. At first, this routine was very difficult for her because her body was used to sleeping at night. But over time, she adjusted to it. Now she sleeps during the day and works at night comfortably. Her job is not easy because patients need care at all hours. Some patients are in pain, some are afraid, and others cannot sleep because they are worried. Farah always speaks gently to them because she knows a calm voice can bring comfort. Sometimes the hospital becomes extremely busy, especially during emergencies. On such nights, she barely has time to rest. Even when she feels tired, she continues working because people depend on her. When her shift ends in the morning, she steps outside and sees the sunrise. At that moment, she feels both exhausted and proud. Her job is hard but meaningful. Hash, hash, hash. A quiet cafe in London. There is a small cafe on a quiet street in London where Emma loves to spend her afternoons. It is not a famous place, and many people pass by without noticing it, but for her, it feels like a second home. The cafe has wooden tables, soft background music, and the warm smell of fresh coffee. After work, Emma walks there slowly, carrying a book in her bag. She always sits near the window so she can watch people passing by. Sometimes she orders tea and sometimes coffee with a small slice of cake. Often she does not even read her book. She simply sits and reflects on her day. She watches people walking, talking, or rushing by with busy expressions. The cafe owner knows her well and always greets her warmly. On rainy days, the sound of rain on the window makes the atmosphere even more peaceful. For Emma, this cafe is not just a place to drink coffee. It is a place where she can relax, breathe, and find peace before returning to her busy life. Hash, hash, hash. A day at the airport, James arrived at Heathrow Airport early in the morning because he did not want to miss his flight. The airport was already crowded, and everyone seemed to be in a hurry. Some people were checking tickets, some were carrying heavy bags, and others were looking at departure screens with worried expressions. James stood in line to check in his luggage while observing everything around him. He saw families saying goodbye, business travelers speaking on phones, and children running excitedly with backpacks. After checking in, he went through security, where he had to remove his jacket and place his items in trays. Although it took time, everything went smoothly. Later, he reached the waiting area and finally relaxed. He bought a cup of coffee and sat near the window, watching airplanes take off and land. Each aircraft felt like part of a moving story. When his flight was announced, he stood up, took a deep breath, and joined the line. Traveling always made him feel slightly nervous, but also excited. It meant a new journey, a new place, and a new experience waiting ahead. Hash, 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 a rainy evening. It was a cold and rainy evening in London. The streets shone under soft yellow lights, and people walked quickly with umbrellas to stay dry. Sarah was waiting at a bus stop after a long day at work. Her shoes were wet, and her hands were cold, but she did not feel unhappy. There was something peaceful about the rain. She watched the drops fall and listened to their soft sound on the road. Cars passed by, creating small splashes of water, while the air felt fresh and clean. People around her were quiet, each lost in their own thoughts. When the bus finally arrived, she stepped inside and sat by the window. She watched the city move slowly through the rain. The lights, the sound, and the calm atmosphere made her feel peaceful. It was not an exciting evening, but it felt real and comforting.